Part 1, The Forgotten House. One October night, a group of young friends, Jake, Emma, and their two close friends Ethan and Sarah, decided to explore an abandoned house deep in the forest. This house had long been the subject of mysterious stories in the small mountain town where they lived. Everyone had heard rumors about strange things that had happened there. Disappearances without explanation, eerie sounds at night, and the haunting of those who had once lived in the house. Mrs. Helga, an old woman in the village, once told them that the house was built in the early 1900s by a wealthy family, but one night, all the inhabitants mysteriously vanished without a trace. The house was left abandoned, and anyone who came near could feel an invisible threat. The rumors surrounding the house made it irresistible to the group. "I'm sure we're going to find something interesting," Jake said, always ready to face a challenge. As they approached the house, a chilling feeling enveloped the space. It was an old house with a decaying roof and shattered windows. The old doors creaked loudly when the wind blew through. The group, though uneasy, could not resist the allure of the house. "This feeling, it's like someone's watching us." Emma shivered as she stepped through the door. But the group continued to move forward, their flashlights flickering faintly in the dark. Each step echoed through the stillness, and it seemed as though they were being enveloped by the darkness. Part 2, Strange Transformations. The house seemed to have been forgotten for a long time, but there was something unusual about it. It wasn't just the decay of time, it was the strange aura of the objects inside. Old paintings on the walls seemed to watch their every move. Every time they passed a room, the flashlight would flicker in an eerie manner. "I don't like this feeling," Sarah said, but no one stopped. When they entered a large room upstairs, they discovered a large mirror covered in dust. In the reflection, something unexpected appeared. A figure standing behind them, even though no one was there. The group turned around in panic, but there was no one. Emma, with her sensitive nature, felt herself being haunted by an invisible force. She began hearing whispers from somewhere, faint voices calling her name from the shadows. Though she tried to deny it, the whispers became clearer and clearer. Suddenly, an old door creaked open on its own. The group rushed to it, but when they stepped inside, the room was empty, except for an old armchair with a rotting book resting on it. Looking at the book, Emma realized it resembled the diary of the house's former inhabitants. "We need to get out of here now," Jake said urgently, but when they turned to leave, the door slammed shut, trapping the group inside. Part 3, Searching for the Truth, the Spiritual World. As the night grew deeper, the fear within the group became more apparent. An ominous presence made it impossible for them to leave. Why were they trapped? What had happened to that family? And why did this house have such mysterious power? Emma, who felt a strange connection to the house, began to investigate further. She discovered that the house was not just a shelter, but a place that imprisoned the souls of the deceased. They could not leave because of an ancient curse tied to the house. These souls had to complete an unfinished task before they could be freed. "We have to release them," Emma said, and the group began to look for a way to do so. But as they entered the dark rooms and began to unravel the forgotten memories, they discovered that the house was changing them. What they were facing wasn't just the darkness or ordinary haunting. It was a force from within their own souls, slowly altering and controlling their every decision. Part 4, The Final Confrontation. Finally, as the truth was revealed, the group realized that they were not only fighting the haunted spirits of the house, but also battling themselves. They had to confront the deepest fears that each of them had been hiding for so long. The suppressed emotions now became the most powerful weapons. To release the house and the trapped souls, they had to face the ultimate challenge. A confrontation with the darkness within each of their souls, and the truth that old age, decay, and death were not things to fear, but rather part of the eternal process. Just when it seemed like everything was about to end, Jake and the group had to make a painful decision. Could they free these souls without paying the ultimate price of their own lives? In the end, when Emma and Jake's group finally understood everything about the house, they realized they had become involved in a battle with no way to turn back. The spirits in the house were not simply harmless ghosts, but souls trapped by a horrific curse, unable to free themselves and unable to exist in this world. However, to help them, the group had to face their deepest fears within their own souls. One night, as the wind howled through the cracks in the door and the sounds of the past began to echo, Emma found an old book lying in the house's library. This book contained a solution to break the curse. A soul can only be freed when it recognizes and confronts its own pain. Emma realized that not all souls wanted to be freed. Some of the spirits were afraid of the uncertainty of death and thus didn't wish to leave. Others still had unresolved connections. However, there was one soul in the house, the soul of the woman who had lived there last, who had been waiting for years to be freed. When Emma decided to face that spirit, she realized that this woman was a reflection of herself, a woman who had lived in unspoken pain, had abandoned her past to move forward, but still had an unfinished part of her life. Emma saw herself in that spirit, and at that moment, a powerful connection formed between them. Along with her friends, Emma began the final ritual, a ritual that she didn't know would succeed, but it was the only hope to release all the trapped souls. They lit candles, recited ancient words, and asked the spirits to forgive one another so they could continue on the paths they had not completed. But just as the ritual concluded, the house began to shake violently. The paintings shattered, windows cracked, and the darkness slowly consumed everything. The group felt a distinct release, not just of the souls in the house, but of themselves as well. The spirits had been freed, and a part of their souls found peace. The final soul, that of the woman, approached Emma and extended her hand. Before vanishing into the darkness, the spirit whispered, "Thank you, you helped me find peace." Emma and her friends returned safely, but none of them were the same anymore. The hauntings from the house had changed them forever. The story of this house would live on in their memories, as a reminder of endings and new beginnings. And as they left the house, although no more ghosts haunted them, they knew that some spirits never truly vanish. They live on in memories and unresolved pain, as part of a world that never fully leaves. And with a final smile, Emma knew that those souls would never be alone again.